but it just sus. The exit says you won't have to worry about that. Like, that's the entire thing. It says you won't have to worry, which to me means that you won't ever be leaving the level. So I recommend avoiding this dangerous level. So to summarize what I think level 14 is, I think Paradise is actually the home of a cult. A human one, to be exact. Could be animals, but I think it's humans. I mean, there's other weird groups that live in the back rooms. There's other cult type areas, so who's to say something ancient or something very historical isn't on this level and they try to lure you there to trap you. I think that the writer of the level wrote it with the entire goal of trying to lure people there so that they can either like trap them or do whatever culty things they want to do, especially since apparently we won't have to worry about leaving. Sounds fishy to me, and I definitely recommend avoiding it, but I think it's a good entry on the Wikidot. Backrooms level 15 is classified as a Class 0 level and is safe, secure, and has no entities. Now you might think, how is the level crazy if there's nothing there? Well, you'll see in a second, trust me. The level is made up of a bunch of futuristic style hallways with shiny reflective surfaces. There are also some sections of the level that are completely dark with no lights and you can't even see in them at all, but those are pretty rare. Throughout the hallways, you can faintly hear the sound of engines roaring in the distance. Now these machines or engines are inside of rooms that are sealed shut with big doors. These doors can be opened up though if you want to explore around them. There's a bunch of different machines in this level and they range in size from being as small as a computer or being the size of an entire room. It just depends on which one you're looking at. And these machines actually can manufacture real objects, like some produce steel rods, but there are some of them that seemingly make nothing, but still move. It's weird. Now, people originally thought that the hallways were infinite, but it's now known that there's just so many hallways and it seems like it's infinite, but it's not actually. It's around 6,000 kilometers squared, to be exact. All of the rooms and the halls are made out of white concrete floors with reflective steel walls and roofs and steel beams holding it all up. On the ceiling and some of the walls, there are these really bright lights that reflect off of all the surfaces that make it really eerie and futuristic looking. And the only thing that breaks up this really monotonous color scheme is an occasional body just laying there on the ground. Yeah, that's pretty terrifying. These bodies are people, and they're all dressed in lab coats. And on top of this, there's also makeshift weaponry found near them almost every time. And some of the bodies have signs of gunfire wounds, and it's unknown what happened here or why they're there, but they've been there for a long time. Now earlier I was talking about the engine rooms that can produce stuff, but those aren't the only types of rooms here. In fact, there's labs, cafeterias, bedrooms, kitchens, and even control rooms scattered around the level. Most of the rooms have no furniture or anything on the ground, but some of them look like entire wars happen there. Just a huge war scene. In some of those rooms, there's also computers, and on this level, there's always a Wi-Fi signal that you can connect to. That'll come into play later, but yeah, some of the rooms have computers. But the weird thing is the files on these computers are in an unknown language, which honestly is pretty terrifying. I mean, you have all these corpses and weapons, and now you got these computers with weird languages. I don't know, man. I guess a good thing is that there's been no entity seen here alive, except there is one room with corpses of hounds stacked up on top of each other the entire height of the ceiling. What even is this level, bro? Like, what? Now, the way this level was discovered was by a wanderer who came here from level 10 and ended up in a big control room. That wanderer's name is Onric, and we're about to get into his story now. Now, this big control room had access to the rest of the level, so, you know what, Onric just set up a camp in that big room and decided to explore. But after 2 days of exploring, the door that he came to the level in shut by itself and literally won't open. And it hasn't opened for 2 entire years. So this guy's been stuck in this entire level for 2 whole years. Now, the good news is that the computers in the rooms do have internet access, and Meg has been able to send books, correspondence, games, and stuff like that to keep him sane while he's stuck here. He's documented his entire stay on the level, and to this day, he's still alive and is trying to explore more of the level and crack the code of the unknown language on the computer files. And as for bases on this level, the only base here is Onric's base. But there has been remnants of other camps that Onric has found, but they look like they were abandoned a long time ago. There's also some computer scanning graphs that Onric has taken and some readings that he's gotten, and the data is actually on the Wikidot if you want to go read it. But I'll show you the picture of some of the scans, because I'm not going to go through it. It's a lot. My question is, why is this level like a battle zone? You know, where's the bodies of the scientists? Why are they there? And why are hounds stacked up in a room? And why are there bullets everywhere? I don't know. Lots of questions here, but there's no one else that's ever been here that has any correspondence with Meg except Onric. So let me know down below. Also, the only entrance to this level was found by Onric himself, and so far, he's the only person to ever enter here and be alive. So we still don't know how those scientists got there. We still don't know how the hounds got there. We don't know anything. But the way he entered was by this big wall on level 10 turned the same material and color as the shiny white walls here. So when he noticed that, a door appeared in that white wall on level 10, so he just walked through it and he came to here, level 15. And after a few days, the door shut and trapped him here. It's creepy. The level entry for level 16 starts with a warning screen that reads, "The updated database entry for this level is unavailable. Would you like to search for an older entry?" And then it searches for offline backups and it finds two files. Now file 1 is dated 6/10 and file 2 is dated 9/12, but neither show what year they were dated, so I'll just start with the first file. File 1 opens up as the first part of this level and it has a survival difficulty of 0 and it's safe, secure, and no entities. Now this section of the level looks like a rainforest type ecosystem with fields and rolling hills where it's slightly overcast and foggy at all times. The level's rainforests are a lot like real life rainforests, but with one big difference: gravity. Obviously, here in real life, gravity keeps us to the ground, right? We can't fly or jump high. But in this part of level 16, the gravity is much less strong, which means you can jump higher and slightly float, but it doesn't have any effect on the wildlife or fauna here. There's not even a known reason why this happens, it just does. So go with it. There's actually no day or night cycle here in this part, and it's constantly at a dawn time, and it hovers around 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius at almost all times. But the next sentence of the entry says, "Was our level key wrong? We've already been here." But the key seemed to change direction. Everything looks different than what they reported. And you'll see why they said that in the second part of the level in the second file. But for the rest of file 1, there's no bases or outposts, even though theoretically it would be possible to set one up here, but there's no consistent way of entering the level, so there's no point. The only semi-consistent way of entering this section would be to get on level 75 and touch a liquid metal, which will take you here. You can also leave this section of the level by climbing a tree to get to level 46. But yeah, that was the end of the first file, the one from 610, and the guy writing this file notices that something is off because the level key they used to get here changed how it looked and changed directions, and he says that this level had supposedly already been found, so when he went there again, it looked different, which is weird. And that's why it's altered topography, because it changes. So now for file 2, which was that one discovered on 9/12, it's classified as a class undetermined because it's got really weird properties and some unknown info about it, and it's just unstable in general. This part of level 16 looks like an Arctic climate, pretty similar to the ones from real life, except the snow and ice on the ground here is more reflective than in real life, so it's almost like a mirror, which would make it extremely bright. And this part of the level also has a day-night cycle. The first part didn't, and the cycle takes 13 hours for a full day-night. The temperature here can be anywhere from 40 degrees to mid-50 degrees, even though there's snow on the ground. I'm not sure how that works, but oh well. There actually are some entities here, but it's very rare, and the main one is called the Light Guides, which are also in the Crimson Forest, and they just float around and glow and are harmless. However, there are no bases here, and you couldn't put one here if you wanted to,